You know, so many people are being vocal about their struggles on social media lately, and it's just hard to ignore what they're saying. Everyone is working harder than ever, doing everything right, and still they're barely hanging on. The math just isn't adding up anymore for average Americans, and I think that's becoming impossible to deny. Let me show you some examples of what's going on.
Why are groceries so expensive? I went to the store today. I got a pack of spaghetti, ground turkey, tomato sauce, and a bag of lettuce. $32. $32. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I remember this being under $10 a couple years back. Or when I was a kid, I feel like it was under $10, or at least under 15. But to be paying $32 for chicken, pasta, sauce, and lettuce? This is scary right now, but now I'm scared about like what's gonna happen in 5 to 10 years. Is that gonna be over $50 just to have one meal? I don't really know what needs to be done at this point, whose fault it is. I just know that something in our economy needs to change because there's no way that someone like myself or just anybody, doesn't matter who, no one should be spending over $30 on a basic meal like that. Something needs to change.
Living in America right now feels like a punishment. You wake up already behind, you go to work just to stay broke, and you watch the cost of every single thing rise while your paycheck has not moved an inch. Groceries, a luxury. Rent, straight up robbery. Healthcare is a joke, and somehow we are the ones getting blamed for not budgeting better. People are working 2, 3 jobs and still having to choose between food or gas. Families are crammed into 1-bedroom apartments because buying a house is now a fantasy. You can't afford to get sick. You cannot afford to rest. You can't even afford to exist. But they keep saying the economy is strong. Strong for who? Because it's definitely not the people doing the work. We're out here treading water while billionaires build rockets, politicians trade stocks, and corporations raise prices just because they can. We were promised opportunity and we got survival. And somehow they made us believe it is our fault. And it's not, because the math stopped adding up years ago. This isn't a country full of lazy people. It is a country full of exhausted ones. It is as simple as that.
The American healthcare system is in crisis. Do you hear me? Like crisis. The Affordable Care Act is anything but. The plan's either so expensive you can hardly maintain it, or if you can afford it because your income's so low, your deductible's so high, they don't cover anything until after you've paid $6, $10, $15,000 out of pocket first. So what do? Somebody tell me. Right, our congressmen, our senators. My brother just had an unexpected stay in the hospital. He had diverticulitis and he just got his final bill and it totals over $28,000. And if he settles for a cash price with the hospital, it's going to be like 16, I think, that they will take. Or he has the option of a payment plan, $25 a month. Do you know how long that would take? 83 years. We've managed to raise about 6, 7, 8 between a GoFundMe and family donations, but he has to decide, pretty quickly as to whether he's going to opt for the payment plan or the cash price. And if we don't have all of it, then he can't do the cash price.
So in today's episode of The United States is a Scam, I got my first electric bill since moving to Mexico about 3 months ago, because here they bill electricity for 2 months at a time, so you only get billed every other month. And y'all, we use all kinds of electricity here. We have air conditioners in each bedroom. We have fans running, as you can see, constantly throughout the day because it has been really hot here, the hottest I've ever experienced in my life. We both work from home. We have lights that we use, not regularly, right? We're responsible with our electricity. But the bill was 400 pesos, which might sound like a lot, but actually it's about 20 US dollars for 2 months of electricity, using all kinds of gadgets. Like, we're not skimping on the electricity here. $20. My last 2 months for June and July before we moved in the United States, over $300 bill. The United States of America is a scam.
I have literally applied to 3,000 jobs at this point. Actually, 3,000 jobs. So let me tell you this. If you have a job right now, do everything that you can to keep it. If you need to cry, cry on your break. If you need to cheat at work, use your phone to take meeting notes for you. Suck up to your manager to stay on their good side. Literally go for it. Because trust me, this job hunt is going to take me out.
The fact that you can legally get paid $7.25 an hour in many parts of this country is absolutely criminal. Imagine you work like a 10-hour shift. That's $72.50. And that's a pre-tax total. What do you get after taxes? 50 to 60 bucks? You can literally work 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and get $55? That's insane. Yet our politicians make six figures for making life terrible for everybody.
Personally, I get really concerned when I watch videos like these because you can see it's not just a few communities that are suffering. All over the country, Americans are staring at their grocery bills, their medical debt, their rent, and they're finally realizing this isn't sustainable. Even if you do everything you possibly can, you budget, you work multiple jobs, you sacrifice, you can still end up underwater. And that, for me, is what makes this situation so scary. And the problem now is that it's not just individuals struggling anymore. Entire businesses are starting to collapse under the weight of the current economy.
I never want to be a millionaire. I just want to have enough money to where I don't have to go to my bank account and see if I can buy this week's groceries. But I guess that's just too much to ask.
What's up, America? People don't have money to eat. And people have stopped eating at restaurants because it's too goddamn expensive. That's according to a great deal of economists that are saying people have stopped eating out at restaurants and are buying groceries at the grocery store and only eating at home now. Now, this information is well known and it's been in decline for quite some time, but now it looks like restaurants are starting to totally fall off because the customer base is dried up. The overall consensus is that people don't have any money and that restaurants cost too much. And because the lower amount of disposable income coupled with the higher cost, people are simply not eating out at restaurants, even fast food places. Nearly every restaurant in America is in decline one way or another. The funny thing is that restaurants are starting to close, yet profit margins for fast food companies still remain pretty high. Because even as customers start to dwindle, their costs are going up. So they don't want to lose a penny of fucking profit, even if you have to pay $4,000 for a fucking hamburger. Nope, because corporations are not going to see their profits stifled, not one penny. So you're going to pay higher and higher prices until there's 10 customers left that can pay $400 for a Happy Meal. So the price of food needs to come down, the value of the dollar needs to increase, and people need some more goddamn disposable income. That's actually really the crux in the center here. People need disposable income. This entire country is built around people having disposable income, and you want the rich to do everything. It's not gonna happen, fuckface. The middle class build this country and the middle class keep it going. So we better get some goddamn disposable income coming in or all your businesses are going to be fucked.
In the United States, I think we are on the path to not having restaurants in 5 years. It sounds ridiculous, it sounds crazy, but hear me out. All of these places are not making money. Nobody is going. There is no lines out the doors, okay? Unless it is right downtown on the middle of Main Street. If you are not in that prime area, your restaurant's dead. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And it's absolutely crazy. I don't know how it's going to get better. I don't know how waitstaff, bartenders, I don't know how they're making any money, especially with the cost of living going up, how they're even surviving, how they can afford to live in the cities. And if your waitstaff can't afford to live in the cities and they have to be farther and farther out, there's going to be a point where they stop making that commute. So who's going to work all these jobs? The old retirees who moved here with $1 bajillion? Absolutely not. So I don't think this is a system that is going to work for much longer, which I think is insane. And from a consumer standpoint, I get it. Inflation, tip inflation, all of it. It is just conspiring against the whole thing of going out to restaurants or bars. And these third spaces that we have, which are places that we can hang out, communicate and talk with other humans, listen to live music, all that great stuff, they're going to go away. And it's just going to be wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, do the same thing every day with nothing in between. And it's just going to be a horrible monotony. So I think this is a bad thing. And with grocery prices going up and tariffs going up and nothing seeming to come back down, I think it's only going to get worse. What do you think? Where you live in the world, are restaurants still busy? Is there change in the air? Can you afford to eat out anymore? Let me know. I would love to hear what you think, because one thing's for sure, the way things are going right now cannot go on forever, because this is not sustainable.
Bro, how can you do everything right and still be in financial ruin through no fault of your own? Like, you could take 6 months to save up that $1,000 emergency fund, and then your check engine light comes on. What do you mean? 6 months of saying no to everything fun, and then your dog gets sick. What do you mean? And then let's say you didn't even get to that $1,000 because you have bills. You could literally have 2 emergencies in the same day, $1,000 each. Credit card debt, boom. And the interest rates and the fees, they eat you alive. I don't understand. Chat, I think it's rigged. I think it's rigged. The system is rigged, and I want to start over. We can like go back to being hunter-gatherers. If anyone wants to come with me, I can be in charge of the potatoes, tomatoes, and pretty flowers. So let me know what y'all can contribute, and well, because we got to get out of here. I don't want to play anymore.
People keep saying the economy's great right now, and I really beg to differ. I'm a small business owner. I've been in business for a little over 4 years now. Between the government shutdown, people losing SNAP, the economy combined just really sucks right now. And I think what the hardest part for me is that over the past 4 years, I have counted on the holiday season being my best season. Again, I'm a baker. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, absolutely my best time of year. And we're 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and I have 4 orders. And I have no orders for Christmas. Mind you, I'm trying to stay at my normal prices instead of raising them because everything else in this world has gone up. But I believe in trying to make everything as reasonably priced as possible because I believe that everybody deserves a treat. And December's a really hard month for us because it's my daughter's birthday, Christmas. One of the licenses that I hold, it's a $600 yearly fee in December. That goes along with the families that we do Christmas with. That goes along with the letters from Santa that I'm trying to put together again this year. Again, cost of ingredients is going up. The light bill's gone up. The gas bill's gone up. Everything's gone up. And I've had to set my small business dreams aside and go back to a real job. But the problem is that real job doesn't start until about mid-December, and I don't get my first paycheck until November. This is a childhood dream of mine to own a bakery. And I have to kind of push it to the side after this holiday season for a little bit. Just because it has been so slow this year, I have not been able to make it like I have all the other years.
Man, that small business owner talking about putting her childhood dream on hold. What she said really touched me because these aren't lazy people or bad business owners. They're watching their livelihoods crumble because nobody has money to spend anymore. And then, when more businesses like hers start closing down in the United States, more jobs will eventually disappear and even fewer people will have money. It's this vicious cycle that just keeps feeding itself. And I think what's making people really upset right now is that they're starting to see who this system actually works for, and it's definitely not them.
Do you not find it wild that the middle class is disappearing in real time and the same force that is making people poor is actually making other people a lot richer? And I think it's so crazy that we don't teach people this in school, because when you actually learn how this works, it can be the difference between making a lot of money, having freedom, getting ahead in life, versus struggling and working really hard to get ahead, but really not being able to do much about it. And this K-shaped economy that I'm talking about, it became really prevalent during COVID, where some people's wealth started skyrocketing and other people were on the other arm going down. And you can see it this year alone. Okay, look at the S&P 500, look at the stock market. It is up over 20%, where wages are up only 4%. The key here to being on that other side of the K-shaped arm is having assets. Like think of any rich person you know. They own things, because when we are printing money and there's a ton of inflation, the people who own assets, the people that own businesses and stocks and real estate, their wealth goes up. And when your money is tied to your paycheck that you are working for, and then you keep spending that paycheck not on assets but on things, you are actually just making the people that own all the assets richer.
You know, I really feel bad for my generation, Gen Z, because we're really put in a tough spot to try to make it to the same milestones that our parents did at our ages. Used to be able to work a 9 to 5 and be able to afford living comfortably. Now a 9 to 5 is not enough. Being able to save and budget used to actually be attainable. Now it's not. Now more than 80% of our check goes toward our rent, and the scraps that we have left, good luck trying to pay that with your other bills. This economy is screwed, the job market's screwed. I think we're all pretty screwed at this point.
Stop telling young people to build wealth in their 20s when they can barely build a sandwich with the money they make right now. Because what are young people supposed to harvest? Hope? Tears? Vibes? Like what? Because in this economy, the only thing young people can really harvest is anxiety and overdraft fees. You don't believe me? Let's connect the dots. The starting base price for a car now is $50,000. And this is a regular, nothing special, just turn it on car and go from point A to point B. The average cost of a bachelor's degree in America is $58,000. And most families don't have that spare change money just sitting around, so they got to get student loans. The average student loan debt is sitting around $40,000 a borrower. Now that's a whole vehicle on their back before they even get a job. And even if they don't go to college, they still have to live somewhere. So say average rent is about $1,500 a month. And that's for a broom closet with a window, nothing extravagant. And minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour in America. And that's not a wage, that's a threat. That's like wage cosplay. Because what wealth are young people supposed to harvest at $7.25 an hour? Please do tell. And health insurance, let's not forget if they even have health insurance, which costs more than rent in some cities. You got groceries that jump every week like they're on a trampoline, and your utilities act like they're owed reparations. And you think that most young people can build wealth in their 20s? No, that math ain't mathin'. Stop telling young people to do things that this economy literally will not let them do.
One day, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the direction we're headed, with never-ending payments and never-ending subscriptions with never-ending price increases. And now, to fix affordable housing, we have the 50-year mortgage plan. It's almost like they want to work us to death. Because to be able to pay a 50-year mortgage loan, I can only imagine they're going to need to raise the retirement age. And if we're going from 30-year mortgage loans to 50-year mortgage loans, I guess we're going to go from retirement age being 67 to retirement age being 87. No thanks, I'd rather live in this. And that's my chicken coop.
So if anyone tries to tell you that the ultra wealthy are actually good for the economy and society and for job creation, you can tell them about Boeing, whose CEO currently makes $32.8 million a year. That is a 45% increase from his salary last year. Now let's look at the average worker at Boeing. They received a 1% wage increase over 8 years. So no, actually, I don't think that the ultra wealthy are good for the economy because their ultra wealth comes at the expense of the average worker. And no, this wealth is not trickling down.
There's only so much people can take before they finally snap, and I think we're getting real damn close. Because the ones at the bottom, the ones holding everything together, we're the ones getting crushed the hardest. We're the ones waking up tired, working 2 jobs, barely keeping the lights on while the people at the top play Monopoly with our lives. They keep squeezing tighter and acting like it'll just never backfire. But what happens when the people who actually make the world run just stop showing up? Because it's not CEOs delivering packages or flipping burgers or wiring homes or building the roads that they drive on. It's us, the ones that they call replaceable, the ones that they underpay and overwork, the ones that have been told to just be grateful for the scraps. But here's the truth. If every broke, burnt out, fed up person in this country just stopped working for 1 week, everything would shut the fuck down. Every supply chain, every store, every service, everything. We have the numbers and we have the power. We've just been too tired and divided to use it. And that's the part that they're scared of. Because deep down, they know that the second the working class remembers its worth, the whole system collapses overnight.
I had to wait to calm down a little bit to make this, so this is me calm. I'm sitting here so unbelievably pissed off and angry. I'm wondering, why do I pay taxes? Literally. Gas tax, property tax, some stuff's supposed to go to the schools, but schools around me are getting shut down because they're stealing the money instead of spending it on the schools. I pay food tax and sales tax and gas tax and death tax and inheritance. What the fuck is all this money going towards? Literally. While all of our elected officials are sitting in Washington getting paid on free health insurance that we all pay for, and I'm buying groceries to feed poor people and fill food banks. What the fuck are you doing? And surprisingly, That is me calm. I am disgusted. Absolutely disgusted with our country. And it is not Republicans or Democrats. They are wings on the same bird. Pull your head out of the sand. They don't care. They don't care at all. Every single one of them should be fired. All of them. I don't even care at this point. All of you are trash.
The new American dream is to leave America. That's the new American dream. You know, I've been following people on TikTok who have moved to other countries, and this one guy I follow, he moved to Thailand 6 years ago, and he said the number one question he used to always get from his friends was, why are you leaving America? And now, all he hears from his friends when they write him or call him is, how can I leave America? It's funny how things have changed so much in 6 years. Not funny. Sad. Really sad how things have changed in 6 years. I mean, this is now the third world country. America is a third world country. Isn't that nice? We all now live in a third world country. Sick. And it ain't getting any better.
So let's step back and look at all of this together. This is a pretty gloomy picture, right? We've got people who can't afford groceries, can't afford to get sick, can't afford to save a dime. We've got small businesses shutting down left and right, and meanwhile the wealth gap just keeps getting wider and wider. And what I see is that the thing that's really fueling this anger that you're seeing everywhere is the fact more and more people are finally understanding how the game is rigged. Even if you work yourself to the bone, do everything you were told to do, you will probably still end up worse off than your parents were at your age. But that's not a personal failure, that's a systemic one. The middle class which built this country is disappearing right before our eyes, and the people at the top, they're doing better than ever. That's not a coincidence, you know. That's by design. I get worried just to imagine where all of this will lead us, with millions of people unable to afford basic necessities, millions of people drowning in debt with no way out at all, and also losing faith in a system that was supposed to protect them. I mean, at some point, something's got to give. I don't know how this is all going to end, and to be honest, I just hope things get better soon, because for so many people, things are already bad enough. One thing that I do know is that we need to keep talking about this stuff, keep checking in on each other, and maybe start holding the people who are supposed to represent us accountable for once. Anyway, look, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I'd really love to hear what things are looking like where you are. Drop a comment if you feel like sharing. I hope you're hanging in there, okay? Please take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.